promote for Egypt abroad also the recent archaeological discoveries and to what extent all these discoveries will help in attracting more tourists in the coming period. Today we are joined over the phone by Dr. Yahya Abdelhadi, is one of the tourism experts. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Great, sir. So first, sir, let's talk about the different promotional campaigns adopted by the Ministry of Tourism this summer to promote for Egypt, especially in Arab countries.
Oh, well, really, as of early this year, the Ministry of Tourism has been conducting a vigorous, a strategic plan to promote Egypt locally, regionally, and globally as well.
Yes.
So there was a direct promotional campaign, for the Gulf states, and really it was so successful. That's why we have direct flights from Jeddah, from Riyadh, from Dammam, from Dubai, that come directly fly to Marsa Alam and Hagara, Sharm el-Sheikh, and Alamein, and Marsa Matruh, because, of the world reputation of Egyptian resorts, its facilities, and attractions. So the campaign has been very successful, and that's reflected in the arrivals of international travel from these destinations.
Yes, also Egypt is preparing to launch an international campaign to promote and stimulate tourism during September, coinciding with the celebration of the World Tourism Day and the 200th anniversary of the founding of Egyptology as a science. So can you tell us more about this?
Well, actually, the whole world currently is celebrating, the bicentennial of deciphering, the hieroglyphics, the ancient Egyptian language, and alphabet by François Champollion, the Egyptologist. That was in 1822, 200 years ago, and his laborious, work really, and this tough mission has been carried out by Thomas Young in England. So this is the one celebration, and the Ministry of Tourism will be holding festivals, and they're inviting Egyptologists and archaeologists worldwide to celebrate this event and, bring the memories of how it was so obscure to the whole world to decipher hieroglyphics.
Yes.
Now it's accessible for, professionals in tour guiding and Egyptology.
Sir, also unearthing the remains of a building, probably one of the 4 lost temples of the sun from the 5th dynasty in Abu Sir, is considered one of the important archaeological discoveries that was unearthed in the recent days. So what is the importance of this discovery, and how can we promote for all these archaeological discoveries in different parts of Egypt, especially that in the past 2 years we have seen many archaeological discoveries?
Well, really, you are quite true, because, for the past millenniums, Egypt, is an outdoor museum, and, it have extensive civilization of around 10,000 years.
Yes.
So that's why you have archaeological findings and excavations. Some we do deliberately by expeditions, we have about 30, 40 foreign expeditions working in Egypt.
Yes.
In conjunction with the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities.
Yes.
And that's why from time to time, and as we know, the Egyptian civilization was based on solar, accountability. That's why, the symbols for, Atum and Amon and Ra, all the solar manifestations of the overpowers, ruling Egypt. That's why they used to have temples, to honor the sun through the solar system, rather than the lunar system that many countries have been adopting.
So, sir, also to what extent the upcoming opening of the Sphinx Airport will stimulate domestic tourism and encourage one-day tourism and attract more air and tourist traffic to Egypt at budget prices that suit different segments of travelers?
Well, really, it is a very strategic, airport, because it's in the vicinity of the Giza Plateau, the pyramids, Great Pyramids, and the Sphinx, and the Grand Egyptian Museum as well.
Yes.
And it's a historical area, next to Dahshur and Saqqara and Fayoum and Necropolis.
Yes.
So this is going to bring back business for visitors and, like flying outside Egypt. They don't need to go all the way to Cairo airport and then take a shuttle to the Giza Plateau. So it will have a direct access. And the whole area now is being remodeled with more hotel rooms, with more facilities and attractions for the world travelers. And hopefully by the end of this year, inshallah, the Grand Egyptian Museum will be opening its doors for the whole world.
So, sir, you mentioned now that the Grand Egyptian Museum is expected to be inaugurated by the end of the year. Yes?
Inshallah.
So how do you see preparations for this big event?
Well, really, that started, like the work on the museum long time ago. And there's, for example, one of the things, they was not supposed to include some boats, like of cute Pharaoh, so that it has been like moved. And that is a very laborious, job to move these boats that's over 4,000 years old and to assemble them and display them. So, and then we have the great statues of Ramesses II, and the whole collection of King Tut is going to be under one roof. The IMAX theater, the facilities, the restoration, the innovation areas, and labs. So really it is a comprehensive project that the whole world really, and travel writers, they call me from outside Egypt, they like to come and write about the preparations because the visitors are lining up to come for the grand opening and they enjoy, like the glory and the wonder of Egyptian antiquities in history.
Yes, also the Minister of Tourism and Antiquities said that his ministry is following up the preparations to host the 27th session of the Conference of the Parties, COP27, to be held in Sharm el-Sheikh in November. To what extent hosting such a big event will help in promoting for Egypt, especially as a place for conference tourism?
Well, as we've been experiencing lately, like the brush fires, like all over Europe and Asia, and floods, and tornadoes. So we are constantly under the threat and dangers of the climate change. That's why the UN and its agencies and world organizations are planning, for this grandiose, climate change conference organized by the UN and other concerned organizations and associations.
Yes.
Because, some of the ports and the resorts, for example, and islands are, exposed and liable to be flooded, as the temperature, of our planet increases by half, 1 degree. So this is very risky and very serious, and the whole world is working hard to mitigate, the dangers of the cold weather or the brush fires that was ranging all over California and Europe for the past 4 weeks.
Yes. Also, sir, in its weekly meeting at New Alamein City, the cabinet approved a draft law to regulate foreign yacht tourism in Egypt, in Egyptian ports and marinas. So this is now a new kind of tourism, new to Egypt, the yacht tourism. So to what extent this step is important to boost tourism?
Well, really, yacht and sea cruises, is a very integral part
Yes.
of the travel industry. There's at least 50 million passengers per year for long cruise ships, and we have a very large number of, well-off and wealthy owners of yachts, like in Monaco and Saint Pierre, in the French Riviera, Italian Riviera. So Egypt, was trying to attract them to come, and enjoy the summer seasons in Alamein, in Sharm el-Sheikh, in Hidara, and Mas Alam. And this is done by Egyptian business corporations in association with Gulf and European partners as well. This is going to be very good for the travel business, especially the cruises and the resorts on the Red Sea and the train.
Yes. So also, sir, if we talk about the winter season, how do you see reservations and preparations for the winter season in Egypt?
Well, really, TripAdvisor, which is one of the arms of the reputable travel promoter CNN, has ranked Egypt among the top 20 destinations that is going to be visited heavily next year in 2023. And this is because, like of the expected bookings on airlines, the hotel reservations, and the airline and tour operators operations will start for next year. So, like the airlines, the hotels, and the travel agents and operators,
Yes.
we have overbooking for Egypt as an attractive, accessible tourist destination for next season, inshallah.
So, sir, how do you evaluate the government efforts to attract tourists from different destinations and open new markets, especially after the Russian-Ukrainian war?
Or really, this kind, like a conflict has affected the whole world, traffic and airline and travel and other activities as well. But there are always, opportunities to look for new business and look for, main resources and destinations. Like the ministry currently is working on Latin America. They're working in many countries in Asia that have been, actively visiting Egypt. And this is done through a campaign which is costing $90 million spent over 3 years. And there is going to be more tourist offices opening in the near future. Apart from the celebration, for example, this year, the whole world on November 4th will be celebrating the centennial of King Tut discovery by Howard Carter in 1922. So many countries like England, Brazil, like El Salvador, Portugal, they had celebrations for this. So shortly, the Ministry of Tourism is having a magnificent, event to celebrate this discovery in 1922 at the Valley of the Kings by Howard Carter.
Yes, sir. Also, if we talk about digital marketing and its role in promoting for tourism abroad, can you elaborate on this?
Well, really, the digital marketing, for the past 10 years, has been the name of the game because. 60% now of the volume of ground volume of visitors worldwide, they book online, and they do everything now, the e-ticketing and promotion and the destinations they go. And so before they leave home, they know what is the line, the itinerary, the hotel where they stay at, the tour that they will conduct, they are going to rent a car. So it's all related to the digital and online reservation and booking. So that makes travel accessible and generating more business and creating more jobs and opportunities.
Also, sir, if we talk about the challenges that still threaten the tourism industry in Egypt, as we can see that there is now less cases of coronavirus, or it is a mild disease, not a threat anymore. Do we still face many other challenges?
Well, the pandemic, really we are, they're failing globally, because now the accessibility of airlines, and people travel from Latin America to Asia to Africa to Europe. So this is one of the dangers of our current civilization, that we enjoy some of the pleasures because the accessibility of travelers from one location to another can make it pandemics, so easily. But with the World Health Organization and now with the advance in medicine and treatment and precautionary regulations taken by, for example, Egypt 2 years ago when the pandemic was prevalent, so we followed the regulations of the WHO in Geneva, and that what made Egypt one of the earliest destinations to accept, and receive visitors in Gada, Sharm el-Sheikh, and that was noted by the Secretary General of the UNWTO in Madrid, Mr. Stavelli, who came to Egypt twice, and he noted about that and admired it so much.
Yes, sir. One more question. What are the features of the tourism plan as part of the 2030 strategy?
Well, really, we've been lucky because the past 2 years we made many, great excavations of archaeological and heritage, sites in Egypt, and we built more museums, at least 50 museums in Kafr Sheikh and There's another one in Luxor, and another one in Hurghada, which is privately owned and managed. So these museums and the Civilization Museum that opened nearly 2 years ago is one of the most notable that must see. Many visitors come to Egypt to visit this location. So the museums we're doing, the parades we did by transferring, like the mummies of the kings and queens of Egypt from the Cairo Museum to Qatar, and as well the opening of the Ramp Avenue between Karnak and Luxor Temple. These were two of the highlights of the past 2 years that was very well received by loyal travelers, tour operators, and promoters worldwide.
Yes, I'd like to thank you, Dr. Yahya Abdel Qadir, tourism expert. Thank you for being with us today. And also, it is worth mentioning that the Prime Minister had earlier said that the government exerts